Hello everyone, Fluffy the Communist here, and we are going to talk about Ninja's 5.1 rotation using the dummy video I just dropped not too long ago. I guess to give you my first impressions of Ninja, I think it's really great. It's designed really well now. Honestly, a lot of the issues that you may have ever had with Ninja since its conception have kind of been addressed with this new redesign of the job. I'm really enjoying it, and I think it takes some getting used to, but I think if you played Ninja and you loved it, but maybe Stormblood or even Shadowbringers just ruined it for you, you should go ahead and give it a try. Now, what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be going over everything I pretty much did in this dummy rotation. This video might actually it might go out pretty long. There's no script, as you can tell. I'm saying a lot, but yeah, I'm gonna go through everything I did, the reason why I did it, and so on, so that there's no confusion and people can actually understand the reasoning behind certain things. There's unfortunately, well, I guess not unfortunately, but the balance did come out with their opener that's still kind of in progress, and I actually really like it compared to what I was doing, and maybe I'll go into why or what I did different and what they did that made it just kind of feel better naturally. But I'm gonna go ahead and be using that opener in this video, and I can explain the advantages of it, and of course I'll just go through everything else. So why not, let's just go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with our little 20-second countdown. We can probably skip through some of this. So we go ahead and do Hotan at the 10-second mark. Hotan. And then we're charging up a Suiton here. Now you're going to notice something I do here, or maybe not, but notice how I use Suiton at the 1-second marker. I think this is something that a lot of people might not notice that they can do. Suiton has a delay in the hit. So you can press it as soon as you see the 1 in the countdown, and pretty much you're probably not going to early pull, which the advantage of that is that your GCD is already rolling by the time you reach the boss, so you immediately just start hitting. Yeah, so something to always keep in mind. Make sure you're doing that. And of course, what we're going to do right after Suiton is a Kasatsu right here. And the reason of that Kasatsu is, honestly, there's really no reason to not early pop Kasatsu anymore, at all. Well, you might have been doing that, but there's no reason to do it at all. It doesn't interact with the ninjutsu cooldown whatsoever. It just creates kind of its own little instance of a cooldown, which is really good because you're going to be using this first in your opener. And of course, there's no longer any more pre-potting in the opener, so the first thing you're going to do is a pot. Right, so you're going to pot there. And next you're going to use a mug and a boot sheen in the opener. The reason or at least from the reason I can tell, I can't speak for the balance, I'm not a part of it, but the reason that I found you would want to use boot sheen in such an early way is because in your opener you just don't use all the stacks, right? You're going to be using so many ninjutsu that you're not really going to be using weapon skills that much at all. And yeah, it's better to use it earlier than later. There's more buffs in this earlier part of the window. You're probably going to have things like Dragon Sight, Astro cards, Chain Stratagem, things like that. So now is better than never. So we're going to continue. So we just do an Aeolian Edge into a Spinning Edge, and then we trick. And next is going to be a Shadow Fang. So the first thing we do here after their Shadow Fang, basically your burst is kind of just like a vomit of ninjutsu in your OGCDs and trying to fit them all in the window without making things drift too much. You pretty much only get single weaves now. You can't really, and seriously, don't do it. Don't double weave after a ninjutsu. There's really no need to ever do that, but if you have to, I'd wait for a weapon skill, if anything, because double weaving after a ninjutsu with that 1.5 second recast, it's going to be pretty awful. So the first thing you're going to do is dream within a dream. I say this is probably the most important thing because you don't want dream within a dream, if anything, drifting out of trick. I think it's the most important cooldown you have in that window. and of course by proxy, assassinate comes next. But you're going to be using Dream Within a Dream, and then you're going to use Hyosho Ranryu, which is your Kasatsu buffed ninjutsu, Hyoton, whatever. Go ahead and do that. Boom, boom. So now you're using Assassinate next, and then you're going to use a Raiton just to keep that ninjutsu rolling. And then you're going to go into TCJ, since you don't have to worry about the cooldown and everything else anymore. And of course, in TCJ now, highest potency single target is Fuma, Raiton, and Suiton, which adds up to about 1900 potency in about 2.5 seconds, which is a lot of potency. A lot of ninjas' potencies are pretty ridiculous, but you kind of learn why, and I'll explain as we get out of the burst that these potencies are so damn high. But so we're gonna do our TCJ. Boom, 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 Suiton, and then notice that we have a Meisui. The Meisui we're gonna use to get another Bafa. As you may have noticed, Meisui is now always a DPS gain, since Bavakakra costs 50 gauge. Meisui gives you 50 gauge, so it's just always a gain to use now. You don't have to worry about it. Also, Suiton no longer clips. Suiton is 600 potency, which, 300 plus 600 is 900. No brainer, so it does beat out a Raiton to use that. But you're never going to be using raw Suitons for Meisui. That shouldn't happen. Maybe it can, but from what I can tell, I don't think you would ever want to do that. I think that you should never use CCJ to prep. As you can see, we use it in the opener, right? You don't want to use CCJ to prep. CCJ is such a powerful tool now. The amount of damage that it puts out in such a short amount of time, like I said, 1900 potency in 2.5 seconds, you'd be seriously shooting yourself in the foot if you're not using this in bursts. So you no longer do that. Suiton is strictly to set up trick now, and then you use the Meisui that you got from TCJ. That's what you want to be using, for your trick window. And then there's really no reason not to. I mean, when you think about it, what do you really gain from using Meisui before your trick and then using TCJ to set up your trick? You understand, like, you're just giving yourself gauge before your burst when you need the gauge in your burst to get as many Bavakakras out as possible. So that's just something to keep in mind. Alright, so yeah, we ended up using the Meisui. We got 90 gauge. We're going to use a Bava. Gust Slash with their clone should cap us out on gauge. There you go. So we use a Bavakakra, Aeolian Edge to Bava again. Bavakakra, Aeolian Edge and Bunshin technically beat out Raiton over here. It's 200 potency plus, 480, which is, with the trick attack buff, is slightly more than Raiton. And especially since it's 2 instances, you could probably squeeze out a bit more damage than what a Raiton might give you anyway. But I feel like it's pretty close. I mean, if for whatever reason you feel as though you wanted to use the Raiton instead of the Aeolian Edge, I think you could get away with it, honestly. There's nothing too extreme there. So I'd say that's up to you. But let's go ahead and move on, since we're going ahead and getting out of the burst. And this becomes a more lackluster part of the rotation. So let's go ahead. So we Raiton there. And then we have 6 seconds left on the pot. So what do? We just Aeolian Edge to get the most out of it. And then we're kind of into the dead zone of the rotation. I say this is the dead zone because really all you're really doing here is just GCDs for the most part. And then you might get like a Bava or two as you get closer to your trick window. Now you're going to notice here that I hold on to my ninjutsu. And that's because we want to use this to set up our trick. And the way it's going to work is if we pull kind of our charges of ninjutsu here, we're going to get as many Raitons in our trick window as possible. So we'll go ahead and see how that works later into the rotation. So yeah, not much going on here, just kind of some good old GCD work. We just throw a Bava in there because why not? It doesn't really technically matter. Not a lot of buffs going out there. I guess here's kind of a mistake I made. Maybe not a mistake, but it's not a colossal thing. But something you want to do better than I did here is that, as you can see, my GCD I should have used Suiton a GCD ahead instead of my Gus Slash here. So that way, by the time I ended up actually putting out that Suiton, as you can see, it would have just caught Trick at like the 19-second marker, which basically all this does is it makes it easier to fit that Raiton into your Trick window whenever you feel like you need to, is what I feel. But it's not the end of the world if you don't do that. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. But just something to keep in mind if you ever do end up doing that. So, but here we're going to use Suiton, get this Trick rolling. We're now in the Trick prep part of our rotation. So now we're just kind of building gauge. Your goal here is to kind of build up as much gauge as possible as you get into your Trick. If you have high skill speed, this is a little difficult. I know I'm not BIS. I'm 260, or sorry, 269. What is this, Alexander? I'm 469, but I basically have nothing but raid gear. I haven't really been capping tomes, so I've only just started buying tome gear. So I don't have much, but my skill speed was pretty ridiculous when I had all raid gear. It was like somewhere in the 1500s, but I've gotten it down to like 1300 now in this video. So I don't really have this issue anymore. But I know if you have too much skill speed, you risk capping gauge going into your Trick window, which kind of means you just have to dump a Bava. I don't. If you have a high skill speed ninja, it may be worth it to cap gauge. In my opinion, I don't think it's just worth wasting your Shadow Fang gauge, because that's what's going to end up happening. So you might want to just dump your Bava before going into Trick. But if you have normal ninja skill speed like you should, you won't have this problem. I just thought I should point it out. So what we're going to be doing is basically focusing on holding as much gauge as possible into our Trick window. So we're at 50 now, and we're going to start prepping. So Bob, oh well, I don't know why I use Bava there. Well, maybe it'll work out, we'll see. But now I've used Kasatsu. There's no reason not to. Like I said, it doesn't touch the ninjutsu cooldown. And then we're gonna go into Trick. There we go. And then first thing we do is Shadow Fang. Of course, Dream Within a Dream is next, and then Hyosho Ranryu, as usual, Assassinate, next Jutsu, Bava Kakra, and then also, I guess I should point this out. If there's one thing you should always keep in mind, is that don't get so into your jutsu that you forget to use your combo, as you can see here. Basically, I've kind of created a golden rule for myself that I never use more than 3 jutsu at a back-to-back. And that includes TCJ as a jutsu. So if you wanted to do Hyosho Ranryu, Raiton, TCJ, you stop after TCJ and you keep your combo going. It is a lot of potency to drop your combo. Alien Edge is still pretty significant. So make sure you're keeping track of that while still fitting in all the jutsu you can. Sometimes you'll just have all 4 jutsu up and you don't want to drop your combo. That's very detrimental, especially if you have an Aeolian Edge, because Aeolian Edge is very important for the gauge gains that you get, especially in something like Bunshin. That 15 gauge that you get could get you another Bava Kakra in your Trick window, and you just screwed that up. So remember, always continue to roll your Jutsu-D. Never use more than 3 ninjutsu at a time. Alright, so we're going to go ahead. We rolled our combo. I use Raiton here and Aeolian Edge. And there isn't much to this Trick window in particular. It's pretty light, honestly. So, you know, it's very standard, very comfy, but still pretty chunky. And then next, we're just going to be building a gauge. Our Bunshin's about to come off cooldown here, so we're going to use the Bunshin as soon as it's ready. And I don't know if ninjas did this before, but you can pretty much use Bunshin immediately as it comes off the GCD, since it has stacks, or after cooldown as it has stacks now. It doesn't really matter what your skill speed is. With Bava there. And then again, I should have used Suiton a little earlier, but it's not that big of a deal. So you can use Suiton there. Boom, you're getting ready for Trick. If there's one thing I really enjoy about this ninja, is that the burst windows I mean, I guess Ninja's always been like this. The burst windows are so frequent that even though you have this downtime part of your rotation where you're kind of just doing nothing, it goes very, very quickly. You're either not in trick, you're either prepping for trick, or you're in trick, and it's all. Most of it's very satisfying. But man, does your damage plummet when you're not in trick, man. But it's okay. It happens. It has to be like that for Ninja to be the burst job that it is known for. If Ninja wasn't doing the most burst in its trick, it'd feel pretty bad. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so what we're going to do here, Kasatsu. Hopefully, we're going to dump our gauge. Yeah, we're going to dump our gauge here because our mug is coming back, and if we just held our gauge and use mug, we overcap. So we have to dump our gauge here. So Kasatsu, dump our gauge with Bava, then we mug again. And then we're going to hold on to our gauge and tricking in this GCD, Shadow Fang, and then Dream Within Dream as usual, Hyosho Ranryu, Assassinate, Jutsu, and I kind of goof here. I didn't press TCJ immediately, but you should be TCJing next. Luckily I don't have a combo, so I can just kind of keep rolling with it. It doesn't really necessarily matter. And then here, I should have used Meisui. Well, actually, let's go back there. Maybe I should have. No, I should not have used Meisui, so that's good. I used Bava, and then Meisui would be next, and I kind of goofed here. I definitely could have squeezed this Bava in a little earlier if I was paying attention, but I wasn't, unfortunately, so I didn't get it under the trick window. If I hadn't hesitated that TCJ as well, this would not have happened. So definitely, it is still kind of a tight window. You only get single weaves, like I said. Double weaves are kind of awful still, but that's just the consequences of Huton and the fast GCD we get from using R ninjutsu. So I only think it's fair. So yeah, I would have got this Bava in trick, so do keep that in mind. It's something you would have wanted to aim for. Okay, so now we're back into the lull of our rotation. We're just going to be using GCDs, keeping up Huton, dumping Bavas whenever we see fit. I don't think there are any. I don't think Bava's not affected by anything like Brotherhood, so you really just don't have much to optimize in this part of the 90-second or 3-minute whatever area of the rotation. Alright, so here I actually for once used Suiton before trick went under 20 seconds, which means I'm at 19 here, 20 seconds up here. I think that's perfect. This will give me a nice comfy trick window with my rights on if I do need it, to where if I can just go back to back. So in this trick window, we're going to have Bunshin here. I've kind of been thinking about it. You could probably pop Bunshin a little earlier than what I did. We'll go ahead and keep the video rolling. You could probably pop Bunshin a little earlier than what I did. Because you, unfortunately, kind of not unfortunately, you're not going to be going through all of your Bunshin stacks in this trick window. It's just not going to happen. Too many ninjutsu. Like I could have used it right here, or actually no, I could have used it right. Yeah, I could have used it here on this Aeolian Edge, which would have freed up a weave for me. But what did I end up doing is I ended up double weaving with my Shadow Fang, and it's not the end of the world if you do that. It's just that there's no point to. You're not going to use every single Bunshin stack in this trick window, so there's no point in kind of pushing yourself back that way. So I am going to clip here. Boom. Which sucks, but it's okay. So we got Dream with a Dream, as usual, highest priority. Hyosho Ranryu, Assassinate, Raiton, you can Raiton again. And then we're going to go ahead and finish up our combo, which we do have time to do, so there was really no need to fret about that. And of course, like I said, we had that extra stack that didn't really gain anything from any buffs, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But that's okay. That's okay. It's something that you can keep in mind and practice on your own time, and maybe I should too. So let's go ahead and continue. We're back in the lull of our rotation. Just dump our Bava, keep Huton up, the usual. It's so unfortunate how much damage you lose. As you can see, I've lost like 400, I guess even more DPS, just from not really having anything to do here. But that's kind of the way of Ninja. I noticed that the damage varies very greatly between parts to parts. Like sometimes you're still at like 15k, and then sometimes you're just at 13k. I've had parts where I'm almost dropping below 13k, which is very scary. But the damage eventually varies. I guess we can talk about the damage a little later. Let's go ahead and continue. So we're getting ready for our next trick. And this trick has TCJ yet again. And yeah, it's a pretty decent burst. So we're going ahead, goes Kasatsu. And this one gets kind of, not clunky, I'm sorry. It gets kind of filled. You have a lot of things to prep before you go into trick here for this particular trick window. Because you have Kasatsu here. You got to refresh Huton with Armor Crush if you know what you weren't paying attention earlier. Then you have Mug here that you want to use before you go into trick. You know, it's just a lot to consider, and I think I miscalculated my gauge here because I didn't expect to be at 95 before going into trick, so I kind of like emergency like Bava'd out of it. But what I really should have done, if I was in the situation, either dumped that Bava earlier, or I could have just done trick first and then Bava'd and clipped my GCD, which I don't really recommend clipping your GCD, but I mean, sometimes you gotta sacrifice something, right? To keep things rolling smoothly. So we're gonna Bava, trick, Shadow Fang, Dream Within a Dream, you know the deal. Hyosho Ranryu, Assassinate, Raiton, TCJ, boom, boom, boom. And I Bava here, keep my GCD rolling, 3 G2 rule, never go over it. So we Bava, then we Meisuid. I don't think we're going to be able to use this Meisuid trick due to previous errors I made, but we're going to go ahead and Raiton. Did I not use it? I think I missed, hold on, I think I missed the cooldown. I think it was just coming off and I didn't press it. Maybe I could have fit it in, but that's unfortunate. It happens. So anyway, we're basically back here. We're going to be getting up for another 90-second Bunshin, which is good for your monk if you have one. It's going to be giving him chakra stacks. I believe that's how it works anyway. They're all weapon skills. Excuse me. So that's always nice. I don't know if they're affected by the physical damage of Brotherhood, though. I don't think they are, which kind of sucks. Speaking of that, now that all most of our abilities are on the GCD that are ninjutsu, Monk is not going to really be liking ninjas in their parties because they're not going to be getting procs from them a lot as much as they used to, at least as what I can theorize. So that's going to suck. That's some synergy loss there, but no big deal. I don't really care. So we're getting ready for trick here. I'm going to do Kasatsu. This is pretty much the last trick one that I do, but there is another trick one that I should talk about. Right. So, you know, trick here, Shadow Fang, Dream Within a Dream, Hyosho Ranryu, Assassinate, Raiton. We didn't do anything there. Raiton, Bavakakra, Alien Edge. And that's pretty much the entire rotation. We're just going to finish it up with a Bavakakra and a Alien Edge. Right, so there is another trick rotation that unfortunately I didn't talk about. And it's basically the final trick rotation into the reopener, which is, I believe, the 5th trick attack. Maybe it's the 6th, I don't know. I guess it is the 6th, that would make more sense. Even numbers and all that. But basically, it's where you get Bunshin and TCJ and all of your cooldowns come back. That's where you'd want to repot most of the time, if you could. It's basically your biggest burst. You probably shoot up a lot. It's so much damage in that window. You might want to pop Bunshin a little earlier because you're going to be using so many jutsu that what ends up happening is you just don't use all the stacks. But generally, buffs come earlier than your trick. Generally, you know, like you might get like how kind of Dragoons like to use Dragon Sight on their 1st or 2nd GCD. Chain Strat comes as soon as possible, basically on cooldown at that point. So for a fight like E2, you probably gain a lot more using your buffs earlier than you do later. So, you know, keep that in mind when you're going into that big burst window. Definitely you want to pot pretty early. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 GCDs before your trick. Maybe even earlier than that, just to make excuse me. Maybe even earlier than that, just to make things easier for you. And then you just do everything as follows. You do your Hilsha Ranri, your Dream Within a Dream, your Raiton, your Assassinate, TCJ. It's the same loop in your trick, everyone. And you want to keep that priority system rolling. You never want your Dream Within a Dream to drift out. I guess just to add a little bit more, one more note. You kind of, if you ever find yourself that maybe a mechanic is happening, because I've had this happen to me a few times, like a mechanic is happening, and because the boss jumped like right before you were gonna trick, and you're gonna lose your Suiton buff as soon as he comes back, but he didn't even jump for that long, it is okay to hold your Suiton for like 5 seconds, or however much time you need, just to pre-pop that Suiton buff. You should do it, but it's not the end of the world. Just keep that in mind. Try not to just pop Suiton if the bosses jump. There's a couple of fights that do that. I know in Uwu, that's not really level 80 content, but in Uwu, I played 5.1 Ninja, and that's just something you run into. You're prepping trick, and you're like, oh yeah, let's go. And then what ends up happening is you drop your Suiton buff because Garuda jumps after the bubble phase. It's just like, oh no, what have I done? So you just kind of have to start casting Suiton at around the 15-second mark of your trick coming back on cooldown, just to make things more consistent for you, maybe even less. And then there's one point in Hades EX, that's a level 80 fight, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with. There's a point where what point was it? I think it's somewhere in like the 3rd phase of Hades EX. He has the possibility of targeting you with a puddle, like it's like a puddle stack phase. And if you're unfortunate enough to get targeted a puddle and you have to pull off the boss, well, you might just drop Suiton, right? Because you were planning on using it instantly. You were planning on using trick instantly, but you can't anymore. You're gonna have to wait maybe a GCD or 2. Maybe not, I don't know. I haven't really done a lot of Hades EX. You probably could optimize it a little better, but that's something I've run into. So don't be afraid to keep Suiton back just a little bit. Otherwise, that's really it for the ninja rotation. Honestly, the job isn't that complicated. I kind of liken it to Dragoon, where it's fun to play. It's pretty simple, but very satisfying to pull off. It's not very clunky at all anymore. Mudras can feel a little weird, I will admit. Like, if you double weave especially, you'll feel like you're playing all ninja instantly if you have a Mudra on the next GCD. But otherwise, it feels like a completely different job, and it's definitely something you're going to have to get used to. Don't feel bad if you are bad initially playing this. It's going to feel very weird, but you'll come to love it, I promise you. This job is very satisfying. I mean, Hyoshin Ranri is probably the best button I've ever pressed in this game, and I'm glad Ninja got it. Ninja's kind of like my old love, the first job I ever really mained in this game. And I remember when I was just a little fucking paladin starting the game, running around a little daw, and I saw this dude with the Sasuke blades, and I was like, yo, what the fuck is that? And my FC told me, and I was like, I want to play that job, and unfortunately, as we went into SB from Heaven's Ward and so on, Ninja just kind of got clunkier and clunkier. But TCJ cost engage was awful, and then TCJ itself was awful. Especially because I feel like it goes against everything Ninja stands for, which is being fast and constantly on the move, and TCJ locks you down. I was like, what? But now TCJ is so fast and so powerful that it's just like, okay, I understand now. It makes more sense. And then the weaving in Mudras was so awful because they made you do so many. Like in Heaven's Word, you didn't do that many ninjutsu. So it didn't seem that bad. Maybe you clipped once, but it was okay. You just moved on with your life. But then you did more and more and more. And I was like, But now it's on the GCD, and they hit like fucking trains. All of them. They all hit like trains. Even Fuma hits kind of hard. I don't do Fuma, but it hits kind of hard. So yeah, no, Ninja's fantastic. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. This has been, it's not really a guide video. Don't call it a guide video. This is just something I've been doing with Ninja since it came out. I've kind of been playing around with it myself, and I've gotten tips from other people and what they've been doing, and of course the openers from the balance. My opener wasn't that much different, but from what the balance ended up coming with, I know the balance is like a Doton thing going on, and I didn't do that. There's no reason not to do that Doton, but who cares? But they just kind of made it flow. They made the opener flow a lot better than what I had going on, so I really like that. So yeah, no, Ninja's fantastic. I think everyone should play it. It's definitely the job to look out for. And thanks for watching. Like I said, I don't think I finished that thought. This isn't a guide. There will be like a more casual, more scripted guide for people who want to understand all the fundamentals and what Ninja really is. So I'll be doing that when we, really get more concrete stuff going for the job. But I just really wanted to talk about Ninja. So yeah, so that's the video. And of course, thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe if you want to. You don't have to, but I'd really like it if you did. So thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.